Hey y'all, thanks for joining. I'm ShirahDedman. I'm your host, and I'm here with Sasha Young is our co-host for today. And so sometimes Natasha will be popping in to have these conversations with us, and sometimes she won't. But thanks to Natasha for being here today. So we're here to talk about Web 3. And some of you might know what Web3 is, but many of you might be saying, hey, what the heck is Web3? Web3 is the next generation of the internet. And I'm going to put forward this banner because I think that this banner kind of explains the best. Web3 is powered by blockchain and cryptocurrency. So, people want to know what blockchain, what cryptocurrency has to do with Web3. It's the best way of looking at it. We always talk about Web 1 was the days back in, I don't know, I would say, what's it called? Netscape. Yeah. I know I went way back. AOL dial-up. That's Web 1.0. And then Web 2.0 is Google Cloud Services. And now Web 3 is where I'd liken it closer to what we were able to do with when all of us started getting hip to the idea that we could download music from each other, and sort of these decentralized information where if you used Napster to download music, some of it might start off downloading from one person's computer, and then all of a sudden, let's say their stream got cut off because they shut off their computer, and then all of a sudden it'd be downloading from another computer. And so that decentralized information where you're not just getting all of that download from a centralized computer, that is the power of blockchain, a decentralized ledger, and that's the power of, or I guess that's how Web3 will be powered. And when we talk about applications that are built on Web3, we call those dApps, and stands for decentralized applications. So small d, big apps. And it's always good to talk about what the background of what Web3 is, because it's so new right now. It really, we really are in the wild west of Web3. People are still trying to create applications, useful applications. How do you figure out how to get people to adopt it? Because all of a sudden people need things like cryptocurrency. And if you have cryptocurrency, you need a wallet. And then there's different types of wallets. And what is this, and you need a different wallet for each different type of cryptocurrency. And so you have to learn about which cryptocurrency is built to power which chain. And then you have to learn about the different blockchains. So it's a lot, and people are like, dang, I don't know where to start. So that's what we're trying to do here at Web3 Weekly Live, is help to describe these issues, help to have interviews with entrepreneurs in this arena so we can learn what they're doing. What are the use cases of blockchain? What are the use cases of dApps? What use cases of NFTs, which next week, if you tune in next week, we're going to be talking about the use cases, the utility of NFTs in e-commerce and finance. And we're going to be talking to Clint Alexander, the CEO of Tangent, about that. So again, it's how can we make Web3 accessible to everyone so that it's not just the people building in Web3 that are aware of it. Why? There's a lot of, actually, here's what it reminds me of. Back in the day, yeah, again, I was dating myself, darn it. Back in the day, there was, video on demand was new, and it was hot. And I got a job working at, we'll just call it a channel, a distributor, or a network. No. How do you got it? I'll just say a DirecTV. So when I was doing deals to get VOD content, and it was really, the um, digital distribution is what we call it, right? Because basically everything used to be on DVDs, and then all of a sudden everything was digital and you can get it through your internet. And this was a big deal. Netflix came aboard and they can offer you, um, you're sitting in your living room and you can get it screened. So when that new technology came out, people kind of, this whole idea of video on demand, all of that. It was new. People wanted to get into it. At the same time, they didn't really feel like dealing with it. Um, and then, the more that people started to shift and adopt, then everybody was kind of like, hey, I want to work in digital distribution, or, something like that. Or I want to work in digital. And you're like, okay, but what do you want to do? Like, that's just, I guess, like a means of getting content to people. Like, that's not the end all be all. It's an industry. Um, and so, there's things like marketing and, oh gosh, I mean, anything and everything you think of, finance that deals with specifically this, people who are in business intelligence, people who are in marketing, people who are in sales. Um, and so I say that because as we are learning more about Web3 as the industry, to hopefully look at different aspects of the industry so that you can get a sense of where, if you're not there yet and you think you want to be in Web3, where your place is in Web3. Like, what aspect do you want to work in? Also, if you are running a business and you want to know what the adoption of Web3 might mean for your business, how would you adopt it? Why would you adopt it? These are things we plan on covering with Web3 Weekly Live. So, with that said, we are going out in this. I think originally we wanted to do LinkedIn audio, more like your Twitter space and stuff like that. But we're going with something a little bit different. However, you still have the capability of calling in. So if you have something to say, we are going to provide a link for you. Here's your link. Boom. And yes, I can repeat what DAP stands for. Um, A DApp is a decentralized application. So just like you have we use the word apps in the standard internet talk, right? We say, "Oh, what app is that for?" Or you remember when you first got your cell phone, you'd be like, "Hey, did you download that app?" So it's just in Web3 they call it a DApp, a small D, big A, PPS DApp, and that just stands for decentralized application. And that's just an application that is being built on the blockchain. This is another thing. Web3, we're going to go over Web3 Weekly Live. We're going to go over jargon, the jargon of Web3. So if I say anything or if any of our guests say anything, do not be shy. Feel free to say, hey, like, I don't know what that means. Write a comment or call in, whatever you need to do to get your questions answered. That's what we're here for. We're trying to cover real information. And I think that, hey, Natasha, is your mic working now? Do you want to try it again?
Hey, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me
I can hear
okay?
you.
Hello?
Yeah, it's really low. Is that just me? Talk again.
Maybe. I I
There
have
you
my
go. I can hear
oh,
you now. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I had my mic on. I just you didn't respond and I was like, "Oh, is my mic not working?" Oh.
Oh, maybe. It was, like, super low right now, and I was like, "Okay, but that was probably me. My bad."
Oh, no worries. And it's my fault. We were going to do a little sound check and I was late. I have to I'll take full blame for
Hey,
that.
there's a rule in Web3 is that this is a experiment, everything may break. Literally, so it's like if you're dealing with this space, you gotta roll with the flow. Uh, for instance, an NFT is supposed to mint today, it's not ready to go out. Like, you just gotta roll. It is what it is. New technology
Exactly.
and stuff.
I mean, speaking of which, I know you were mentioning Twitter Spaces. I don't know if we can segue into that a little bit
Yeah, let's do it.
right now. Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, Twitter Spaces, it's a great tool. It's used by a lot of the Web3 community, as you know, to talk about their projects, to talk about what's happening in Web3. And unfortunately, it's just very glitchy, and it is prone to just crash in the middle of your broadcast, or kick you out of your broadcast, or like all these things happen during Twitter Spaces, which everyone has come to affectionately know as rugging. Like, and
On the
Shira
real,
knows
I just experienced this like 2 days ago, and everything just dropped, and you're like, "What just happened?"
rugging. So we can introduce everyone to that term if they're not aware of
Okay,
that. I
I'm
just popped it in the comments.
okay.
Rugging is our affectionate term for what happens when you get the rug pulled out from under you during Twitter Spaces, and it happens to everyone. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the newbies. It happens to everybody.
There, I put up the term. Okay, that's it's like a word of the day, rugging.
So there's our vocabulary. You'll experience it sooner. You'll know what it is. You'll feel it. You'll feel the pain. And this literally happened to me. I was hosting a space for one of my clients, and right before the space started, I started. It was like, oops, sorry, the space is over, and I was like, wait, like
So awkward.
you've already sent out all the invitations, all the promo with this link saying, hey, go to this link and you're gonna watch, you're gonna listen to the show. And it was like, it's over. And so you're losing audience that you've promoted to. So it's a real problem. Like, it's not just an annoyance. Like, it's causing like a disconnect between you and your audience. And I'm not quite sure, and this is not to put Twitter on blast, but it kind of is to put them on blast. Why aren't you fixing this already? Like,
Yeah.
let's fix this.
I know, because Twitter Spaces has been around for like how long now?
I think 2 years, something like
Okay. Yeah, you have, and especially so much activity. I mean, the activity is just growing. So
that. Yeah.
for me, it should definitely be. You would think it would be one of Twitter's priorities is to get as the way I put it, their Twitter Spaces tight, their
Yeah.
technology tight.
So,
Um,
so, so the question is, like, why isn't it a priority for them? And is there another platform that might be looking to fill the gap where they don't seem to want to do it?
Mm, well, okay. So one of the things I didn't even mention that, but we can talk about Clubhouse, because
Mhm.
I mean, if you think about it, Clubhouse rolled out before Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces was, yeah, it was Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, and now LinkedIn Audio is trying to do that. Um, but if you want to talk about rugging, I couldn't handle it, because if you can't get your guest on, that's a huge problem, right? Like, I was trying to get a guest on, and it just kept dropping and dropping and dropping, and I was thinking, this is not usable. And
On Club.
that's the reason why we switched over to using LinkedIn Live, just because LinkedIn Audio is just way too glitchy at this point.
Oh. So the guest kept dropping on LinkedIn Audio.
Yes, on LinkedIn Audio, which is, the Twitter space of LinkedIn, and literally, I kept pressing accept, come on to the stage, and then it would just drop the guest, and then just there was just too many things, people, and I guess we're speaking out of turn, but just to kind of also say with LinkedIn Audio, while we're talking about LinkedIn Audio, you cannot chat. And so I was sitting there trying to create like a chat group, which is really, it's just not, there's nothing there, it's just
It
not
could
usable. It's
be.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not usable.
Yeah, you can't use that during a broadcast. Like, you want to be able to see the comments. Like, what I like about StreamYard, and we're using it right now, and
Mhm.
obviously, like, and it's easy for you to see that, like, I've commented. Like,
Yes,
I just
yes.
post a comment here on YouTube, and that's where it's showing
No,
up.
we are not getting paid by StreamYard. Okay,
No,
just
we're
throwing
not.
that out there. This is just the tips and tricks, and maybe y'all are still gotten to the point where like we're talking Twitter Spaces, and what the heck does that have to do with Web3? So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, Natasha, around using Twitter Spaces and Twitter for Web3.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so in January is really when I got my like got thrown into the deep end of the pool with Web3. Working with an NFT artist who's in the space, and from what I understood immediately was that Twitter Spaces was where everyone who was an artist, who was a creator, and wanted to talk about their project, that's where they were hanging out. And they were hanging out there 24 hours a day. And when I'm saying that, like, that's not an exaggeration. People were staying up all night, not getting sleep, just leaving the space running. They would go off and sleep for a minute. Other people would co host and keep it running. And they would have spaces open literally 24/7 in some cases. Other people, it would go for hours, maybe not that long, but I mean, it's pretty intense. So it was pretty clear to me that Twitter Spaces was integral to the building of their community and how they were connecting with new audience, new fans, but also their current community. And so, yeah, Twitter Spaces was where everything was happening.
To
And
piggyback off of that, I have been trying to avoid Twitter. Like I anybody who knows me, I'm like, I have to say I'm all about LinkedIn. That's why I was like, okay, LinkedIn audio won't work. I'm insisting on making this happen on LinkedIn. But yeah, and I was like, I hate Twitter. I don't want to be on Twitter. And of course, now that I'm working in Web3, where am I at?
Twitter
Twitter.
Spaces.
It's kind of like what you said, everybody's in Twitter spaces. And I'm like, I hate that that's the truth, but it's just the truth. It's like if
It's
you want to reach people, in Web3, you want to be connecting, you gotta get yourself on Twitter.
it is the place. So, I've been on Twitter for many years, at least. Actually, I just had my Twitter birthday, my Twitterversary, 13 years.
Congratulations. That's cute, Twitterversary.
But like the Web3 is like, it's actually, I feel like it's revitalized Twitter in a way, and it's totally breathed life into the platform in a way that nobody saw coming. Like, we didn't expect it. So yeah, Web3 is, we're having conversations there daily. And there's also like a real sense of community that's being built there, just on the platform through those spaces. So it's a really important place. And I didn't realize how important it was to hear the people that you're following. Being able to hear them
Yeah, yeah.
it took it to a new level. So
That reminds me, I'm just going to say, if you want to call in, there's a link. I'll put it into the comments, and so you can call in using this link. And this is our way of doing a Twitter space without doing a Twitter space. Thanks to StreamYard.
I
Okay,
love
go
it.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good.
Back to the comments at hand.
I like the sound of the little like sound effect. Was that like a special sound effect, like a little
I
bell?
wish. No, that was called my phone going off because I forgot to put it on vibrate.
I think we need to incorporate that into the show.
Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to do that.
Like,
Actually, I do have a question right now. You mentioned you feel like Web3 helped revitalize Twitter.
yeah.
And that kind of brings me back to Twitter being really hot during what I'm going to call hashtag Black Twitter days. Do you think I mean I feel like there's a lot of people of color in Web3, and maybe do you feel like maybe that's why they would have been using Twitter? I mean, I don't know. This is just like me thinking aloud because so to me, I would say like you wouldn't guess it, but for instance, I see so many black people in Web3.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
like no, in nowhere other in terms of when we're talking tech, we usually talk about what a dearth of like, you know, let's say black people there are. And I'm seeing a lot of black male founders.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm seeing black female founders too, but mainly black male founders. And I'm like, whoa, they came to Web3. That's interesting. And so I'm kind of wondering if that has anything to do with Twitter becoming so hot again, because we were as black people just used to using Twitter. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out loud.
That I mean, that's a very interesting theory. I would have never made that connection. I have, I can't speak to that because I wasn't there at the beginnings of sort of like where the Twitter spaces with Web3 really took off. I know that artists were using it. The creators that were selling NFTs
Hmm.
were really using these spaces to be able to connect with their communities and talk with them. Like
It's
for example,
interesting.
the client I was working with, and so yeah, I'm not sure, but I have seen that too, and it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting to see that, and we need this. We need
Yes.
to have diversity and inclusion in Web3 as
Yes.
well, and to keep our eye on expanding education for all communities to be
Yes.
participating because when all communities are participating, then we actually get to see the full value of this
Yes.
amazing tool. It's an amazing tool for everyone.
Agreed. Agreed. And have you, I haven't used, so mainly in dealing with Web3 and trying to promote Web3 businesses. Now I'm focusing on LinkedIn, Twitter, and well, you did mention a lot of artists, and I'm seeing a lot of beautiful art on Twitter because people are sharing, hey, come buy this NFT, gorgeous art. I'm wondering how much of these artists are on Instagram and how much of this sort of call it NFT heat you're seeing and NFT promotion you're seeing on Instagram. Have you had any? Do you have any insight into Instagram? Because I know we just people in Web3 are always talking Twitter, 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 um, Discord, and we'll get into Discord. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what do you have? Do you have any insight into Instagram?
You know, I overheard conversations in, the back rooms amongst artists about Instagram, and I can't speak for all artists. I just know that um, the consensus was that Instagram wasn't it, like as far as like where they were going to get the sales. So it just wasn't the hot spot for getting those sales to happen for their art from what I
Mm,
was understanding. Now I'm going back a few months. That may be changing, it may be shifting, but as late as maybe April or June of this year, like people are like, no, Twitter is still like the space where we are going to be really
interesting.
connecting. Yeah. So Instagram, I know like TikTok. Now that's a whole other thing. I don't know that much about how TikTok works, but I
Mhm.
know TikTok is an important space for artists as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, I think it goes again back to like what we talked about with Twitter. Twitter Spaces is making such a difference in establishing these communities and people connecting with each other. I know just from being in a Twitter space, that many more followers that I was able to get, or people I follow because I like what they said, or being there, we're in the same space. I figure we have a lot in common, and I want to see. I'm curious about the other people in the spaces, so I definitely can see why more people would be driven to Twitter as opposed to Instagram. Even artists who are, it's not like in Twitter you don't get to see all this gorgeous art anyway. So, um, but let's talk about Discord. You want to do that?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I know we only have a couple minutes left, but we
Yeah.
can, you
Sorry,
know,
we could
have
talk
a
about Twitter forever. That's the problem.
well, that's where that's where a lot of stuff is happening, but Discord is the other end of the pool, right? Like goes even deeper with
Yeah,
Discord.
it goes too deep sometimes. That's the problem.
All rabbit hole of just
It sure is. Yeah, so you want to go into maybe how you are using Discord?
yeah, for sure. You'll find a lot of um, communities that are being built by founders um, on Discord. So the entire sort of home base of the community is there, and it's where I mean, that's it. I mean, it's all about building the community for the project or the artist, and that's like ground ground zero, like for everything. You're going to connect with, what they're working on. You'll understand what their roadmap is, what they're planning to do, and being able to like regularly sort of deepen that relationship with that brand or product, project, um, story, whatever it is that they're building and working on, you can become part of that more so inside of the Discord space than anywhere else that I've seen.
Yeah, I think Discord is really important for a couple of things. If you're new to the Web3 space and you want what I'm going to call a dose of education, if you find good projects that you're interested in that are in the Web3 space, follow them like on Discord. Go into their server. You're going to learn so much, not just that's related specifically to that project, but just I don't know. I want to say about the Web3 community in general and the ability to connect with other, kind of like what Natasha said, connecting with actual community. Especially, that's going to be relevant if you are building your own Web3 business and you want to see what's working, what isn't, in terms of how people are connecting with their community. Frankly, for me, the problems I have with Discord, and I have not started my own Discord server yet. Let me just say that I'm just a member of many Discord servers. I personally think that if you are going to start a Discord server, it they need to stop having so many channels. So each Discord server, just think is like your the interest into the brand. And let's say if you are on Twitter, and let's say Twitter, somebody has, their Twitter account that's on Discord, that would be called a server. So Discord server, let's say like is their Discord page, okay? And then when you're in there, you can have all these separate channels, and some people might be used to this because they're used to dealing with Slack. And so you have all these different channels, which are like different topics within this account. I think that that's just overused. I feel like a lot of people, they sit down to architect their servers and they put in all these foreseeable topics that people might want to talk about around their project. And then really only about two of them get used. And then it's just like visual chaos. And for somebody like me, I can't stand visual chaos. It makes me want to, turn off the notifications because I don't really care about anything. Because when I go in, it's hard for me to determine where the activity is actually happening. I don't know. So for me, being in all these Discord servers, I'm like, all right, you have a project, you have a Web3 project, you got to be on Discord. But folks, can we do it better? Does it have to be so visually chaotic? Can we just create channels as they're actually needed? Like, right? Like, let's say people are like,
Yes.
hey, we wish there was more of this. And then we're like, okay, let's create a channel instead of going into these servers and like before you actually have engaging with your community, you have like 20 different channels. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I love that you brought that up because I wasn't able to really articulate for myself before why I felt so overwhelmed inside a lot of the Discord channels and spaces that I was visiting. It was just overwhelming. And I literally have I mean, I'm part of a lot of communities too, and they're all muted. Like, I just can't take it. Like, it's just too much for me. So there's only a few channels that I have, and I have them sorted and arranged by where do I visit the most. And when I go there, I only go to a couple channels. You
Yeah,
know,
same.
there's a
Same.
couple channels I go in repeatedly and that's it. You know, I'll see what's happening in general sometimes. If there's like an event happening, I'll go to the event, you know, but I'm not like spending hours sitting in there. Other people, you know, maybe they use it differently and maybe who knows, maybe that visual stimulation is really great for them. And it makes them feel like they're enveloped in this world better by, you know, having all these different places to go visit within the, you know, the Discord, you know. So just being the devil's advocate and saying, you know, maybe, you know, what's not fun for us is maybe actually like really helpful for other members of that
I
Discord.
hear you. I hear you. But here's why I'm going to go back to it. I notice in these communities, the people use the same one because if you're in a community, you want to be where everybody's at. So, so
True.
they use the same channels. That's why I don't get why there's like 20 other channels. Anyway, so this is my note to people creating Discord servers for their projects. But again, if you are just dipping into Web3 and you're getting into these Discord servers, we're just trying to prep you for maybe how you want to handle dealing with being overwhelmed in these things, especially when you first go into a Discord server and you're not used to this idea that there's like 20 of them. I mean, like 20 different channels. You literally get in, you're like, where do I go? Where am I supposed to be? There's like 20,
Yeah.
it's like, don't worry. People talk in the same too. So just go ahead and wait it out. You'll see which ones light up.
I mean, it's nuts. Like I'm just looking at my lineup of all the different um servers that I'm part of, and it's like I have literally thousands of notifications waiting for me that I'm never gonna look at.
So real. You know what's sad too? Because here's another thing. I use Discord to really engage. So sorry, let me bring this back. If you're going into Web3, the beauty of Web3 is you are truly working with people like in all parts of the globe. And so what you find is, okay, how do I best sort of communicate with all of these people across the globe? First of all, you start talking about time in UTC. I was like, what's UTC? And now I have like a sense of, what time it is. If I hear something UTC, I'm like, oh, that's my morning. That's my afternoon, as opposed to like central daytime, or central. I always say central time. So I never have to know if it's standard or daylight. But anyway, so back to oh gosh, did I just get myself confused? But anyway, so back to Discord. I use Discord to actually communicate with a lot of people. And maybe that's just the communities I'm in, I don't know, but I find it really easy to connect with people versus like I'm going to throw this out there while we're talking about this. Telegram. I know that there are a lot of web3 projects on Telegram, but the problem I have found on Telegram is that it is very, very, very much spam driven. I cannot tell you how much spam. So I actually moved away from using Telegram, primarily use Discord because I also think a lot of people won't necessarily answer you on Telegram because they're so used to getting spammed. And so if there is a community, like a project that I care about, and they're on Telegram and Discord, I'm going to follow the Discord before I follow the Telegram because there's just too much spam on Telegram.
That's so interesting. I actually was not aware very much about Telegram until this summer, like maybe within the last month, that I started to become more aware that Telegram was a thing and that a lot of people are on there. I mean, there's a ton of users. I just like heard a statistic. I can't remember what it is. I'm not good with that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I know, right?
You know, like there's
You're
a
like,
lot
there's
of
this
people.
thing.
They're staying, they're all there. But you know, the thing is, like, I was not aware that it was even like happening, and now to hear that, oh, there's a lot of spam happening. I mean, you know, there are the downfall for Discord too is that there is, you know, a lot of uh, scams. You know, and you've got to be vigilant about not clicking on links, and you know that kind of stuff. So there's so much. There's a wealth of stuff for us to continue talking about here. I feel
Yeah.
like,
I
um,
think let's wrap this up. But with our wrap up, can we just talk about LinkedIn? Just for a bit to see what you've learned about being on LinkedIn,
for
especially in terms of promoting the Web3 projects that you work with.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
go for it.
LinkedIn. Let me think. Um, you
I can
know,
I can start if you want me to. That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right. Well, I would say, for me, part of the reason of starting Web3 Weekly Live is just because I think that there is, you know, LinkedIn caters to what I'm gonna say, probably like more like corporate types and people, businesses, business driven versus, there's, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Discord, all this stuff, you're really like an individual, but not necessarily an individual who's tied to a business. I know if you get what I'm saying. It's just LinkedIn is the professional social media, and so I think that I think that there is a want for to learn more about Web3, about NFTs, about DAOs, digital IDs and everything that goes into Web3. But I think there is just a lot. You're dealing with a space where there aren't a lot of people engaged in Web3, and the people that are engaging Web3, it's so small that it's kind of like you're gonna follow. I guess that's the thing about LinkedIn. They allow you to do like a hashtag follow, and that will populate your LinkedIn stream with various posts from people. But I guess for me, it's just more of like, oh, I can kind of see that it's so new. It is new. And so Web3 Weekly Live is supposed to be about helping educate people because Web3 isn't just for developers, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so much more. We need people who know social media marketing. We need people who know uh, finance. We need people who are lawyers who know about this space. And so I think that with
Exactly.
people who are going to use LinkedIn, whether it's they're looking for education or they're looking to promote their businesses, their Web3 projects they're working with, or they're developing. It's just you're just gonna have to take more time with the education, because I think that the population of people who are into Web3 is just so much smaller on LinkedIn than, let's say, like a Twitter. So it's just you're just gonna have to be more patient with it and putting out that messaging. But at the same time, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. While you were saying that, like I was listening to what you were saying, and just thinking, and this will just be like a really quick point, that about the Web3 space, and especially on Twitter, is that there's this idea of being doxxed or undoxed, right?
Okay.
Um, so and that may be like too much vocabulary for today, but
I mean, I was gonna say, what do you mean by that? Just so we're like
doxed.
on the same
So
page.
yeah, so people on Twitter tend to use their like NFT, NFTs that they bought as their profile pictures, their PFPs, and so they're not showing their faces. I mean, even me today, like I'm using this cute little picture that someone had created for me. Shout out to the artist that created this for me. And it's not my,
There,
like I think
I put the new word PFP.
yeah. Yeah, and extra time vocab. So,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
basically, LinkedIn, a lot of people usually use their real picture for their profile picture, right? Although I'm starting to see things seep over from that Twitter vibe, if you could call it that, where people are now using NFTs as their profile picture, even on LinkedIn. And I'm wondering if that's gonna keep moving in that direction. Because what my thought was, LinkedIn is the space where you would be doxxed, meaning you're showing your true self, you're showing your picture as yourself.
Got you.
And Twitter is the space where you can be more like, okay, like this is the project I'm supporting. This is my PFP from that project. So, um, anyway, just like a few thoughts. Like, I think there's a need for both LinkedIn and Twitter in this sort of building of this. the space for everybody in Web3.
Wow. So I'm just going to go over this, man. We talked about doxed. We talked about rugging. That's our word of the day. And PFPs, which are NFTs used as profile pics. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Natasha, for coming on today and for co-hosting. I was excited talking to you about this. Hope to see y'all next week when we have Clint Alexander of well, it's weird that my brain just went blank. I just had a toddler walk up to me. That's why it grabbed me. But anyway, Clint Alexander.
It's Web3. That's how it works.
Right. Exactly. You expect everything to break. Clint Alexander, CEO and founder of Tangent. And you can find Tangent at tangent.art. So we'll be talking to him next week about the use of NFTs. We were just talking about NFTs. The use of NFTs in e-commerce and finance. So thanks again. We appreciate y'all for coming on, and we hope to see you next week.
And follow Web3 Weekly Live on Twitter.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for throwing that out there. See, she's so good with that Twitter stuff. All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.